A Murder in Buckfield. A perfectly morose experience that left me a little misty-eyed at the end of it all. It's a very hard game to sit through at times. It discusses some incredibly sensitive topics. It discusses drug addiction, domestic violence, general abuse, stalking. Hell, there's even a few interesting discussions about sexual assault. But this episode is one that won't be talking about any of that. Hell, it won't be talking about much of anything, really. Because I only really have about an hour's worth of footage here. This game is not very long compared to some of its contemporaries. It took me about 4 hours to get through it in its entirety. But it's very much a game that you have to experience for yourself. It's probably worth installing the With player just for this game at this point. It is easily the best thing on the platform. I'm going to do something really different, and I'm going to talk about the game's ending. But I'm not going to tell you who the culprit is, or anything to do with the final plot twist for the final 20 minutes or so. If you want to know that, you'll need to play the game yourself, get to that point, and just experience the twist for yourself. It is amazing. After you call in the arrest on the culprit, you watch a cutscene of the whole town reacting to the murder. How shocked everyone is at the culprit's cruel and malicious behavior towards the victim. And it just... CNN, it's a CNN live coverage, and everything to do with it is just... It feels like something straight out of a crime drama. And then there's a very touching monologue from the player character, talking about justice, and how for things like this it's always just a little too late. And then it cuts to the present. The entirety of A Murder in Buckfield is a flashback of sorts, taking place from the perspective of the player character, retelling the story of the investigation and the murder to a much older Detective Henderson. And even if it isn't intentional, it's a very touching allegory for handling dementia patients and watching someone just decay around you. To get a bit personal, my grandfather was diagnosed with dementia about 2 years ago now. And he has his good days, and his really bad days, and his really, really bad days. And whenever we visit, we'll often sit and tell stories to him, just to hopefully help jog his memory. Or if he's having a good day, he'll tell us disjointed stories from his youth that I know aren't entirely true and they're not completely correct. But that's not why we visit. In the closing moments of the game, watching someone losing their grip on reality, suffering with their loss of identity in the final few years, hours, weeks, whatever, it hit very close to home to me, and it was a stark reminder that I won't have my grandfather forever. I say this in the unscripted segment later on, but I really, really hope a sequel gets made for this game. The idea of playing through someone's retelling of a story to their closest friend years later, and in the format of a detective show, it's something I really like. Hell, I watch detective crime shows pretty much every week at this point, trying to figure out who did the kill before the killer is revealed, and I did it here as well. There's a bunch of footage I'm not using that's just me going through the evidence, trying to figure out who's who, and I'll be honest, I got my initial guess wrong until that twist came around. And then there's the little small playable segment at the very end. Seeing the old mall and the surrounding segments demolished and rebuilt into something better, I liked it. There's a lot of good symbolism there. The game also, however, has achievements and an encouragement to go for another ending to get the 100%. I didn't get everything my first time around. I missed 2 pieces of evidence and I think 4 testimony. I don't know where I know the 2 clues I'm missing were the cigarettes, but I don't know what testimony I was potentially missing, because I really can't tell you outright without looking at everything again, which I don't have. But apart from all that, I definitely think, and I'll talk about this more in depth later, that this game's strongest asset is 100% its characters. Like, every single character here feels like a real person that you'd see out and about in the normal day-to-day life. Hell, I've met people like this in my day-to-day life, and it's just really, really cool seeing people that I could see, like, up the road, here in a game as suspects or as witnesses or just as anything, really. But that's about all I can really say. I do also find it really funny that about some of the visual gags that you get from the narrator. Like there's one on the screen now where it's asking about if you're sure you've got everything in the apartment complex, and then you can just go straight back into the apartment complex. I'm pretty sure that any remaining evidence would have been removed, but I did pretty alright getting everything, so I'm not 100% sure on that one. Anyway, on to the unscripted segment.
Wow. Okay. That is a Murder in Buckfield done. A shorter one, quite a short game. I think my final time was just under 4 hours total, and that includes having to restarting accidentally at some point. So I really enjoyed this personally. It was a really nice logic puzzle sort of thing. Like it wasn't a traditional RPG, which I really appreciate, and it dived very much into the character of not just the detective, but all the people around him. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good game. Um, excuse me. That final cutscene actually got me a bit teary-eyed. Um, I don't know if I'm going to actually like say outright who the murderer is as of yet, but that final cutscene was horrific, and it just showed that no one in that suspect pool were good people, and it showed just how things change, people grow, and there is a part of me deep down that really hopes that they continue with the Portfield murder that they talked about in the closing cutscene. I very nearly got everything on my first go around. I think I missed 4 testimonies and 2 clues. I know what the 2 clues I missed are. They're 2 cigarettes. I don't know where the hell they are. But yeah, it really seems like there's a lot of endings, and there's a reason to replay it to get all the achievements I missed. Like I missed about 4 achievements at the end of it all. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, and that bonus ending was it was really nice to think at the end of it, and even that closing bit before the bonus ending where it talks about justice and how we didn't we found a killer, but could have we could have done more. Like I really enjoyed this, and I'm grateful that I got to play it, and I'm very happy that it's here, and I hope that another one comes out for more case files, because I would really, really, really like to just keep playing more games in this style, because I had a blast and it actually made me figure out the murderer myself. So yeah, really, really good. It was a really good game, and I'm very, very thankful that I got to play it more than anything else, because this is probably the best thing I've seen on RPG Maker with thus far. And if more gets put on here in this style, I would be absolutely enthralled and excited to see more of what would come.
And now we go on to the rankings. Murder mysteries live and die by the story they tell and how it all logically fits together, and Buckfield nails its storytelling. The mystery is something I love to try and figure out, and as someone roughly assembling mysteries for my own projects myself, I understand how rough it can be to make a mystery that's both fun to solve and, not logically impossible. I love how every character's reaction to the story progressing around them, and how the 6 main suspects react as the story progresses and how different they behave. I also just want to, really just say that this is such a really well-written story, and that it all mostly makes sense, and like the bits that don't make sense, I can gloss over. So I'm going to give this a 5 for story.
Character once again hits a 5. The main cast of both the police force, both the 2 detectives and the 3 officers, and then the 6 main suspects, they're all incredibly dynamic and incredibly fun to watch on the screen. All of the main suspects have moments where you can theoretically think it was them, whether from their behaviors, their actions, information that's been gleaned, or other people's behaviors around them. And you get to see, as the game goes on, that none of the suspects are good people. It's such a good character study of broken people in a broken town, but I still stand by my favorite one of the lot is Paul Richards. He's such a fun character in what little interactions you get with him throughout the game, and I just wish there was more of him to talk with, because he's a really, really fun character. Remember, there's no combat, so we rank the entourage cast instead. And all the other townspeople are written incredibly well. I'll only give it a 3 out of 5 because they're really not as fleshed out as the main suspects of the police force, but I can't really hold that against you. It's already a lot of really good character writing, but I just would have liked for a little bit longer with them before the arrest was made, or some of the Act 2 characters potentially joining the suspect pool. That's my opinions. For a grand total of 3 exterior cells and about a dozen interior ones, Buckfield, USA feels like a dead-end rundown town that's only still going because of a really good diner, or a motel with beds a little too comfy for their own good, or a really good view of a mountain. There's a couple of these in my home country, and the vibe is exactly the same. The closing scene of the new Buckfield with the renovated park is such a cool detail, and even though it's a tiny little part of it, you can see exactly where in Buckfield this place fits in and what it replaced. So I have to give this a 5 out of 5. It's such a well-designed game. You know, I had a blast with this game. If me rambling on about it wasn't obvious enough, I'm gonna make the bold move here and give this a 5 for enjoyability as well. The game is fucking amazing, and it's worth the less than amazing catalog of RPG Maker with for this game. It's easily the best game on the platform right now, bar none. And it's not even an RPG, which is the absolute best part of it.
And just like that, we're another game down. It's back to the board to see which game comes next. And the next game that I'll be taking a look at in the coming future is Drowning Sorrows 3. I'm chomping eagerly at the bit to cover this one. So I will eagerly see you all in the next review video. Or if you see another of my videos before that, I guess I'll see you there, I suppose. Have a good rest of your day, night, or whatever it is for you, and just, take care of yourselves. Enjoy life.